Good day. Welcome to another episode of Robert Report. I'm your host, Robert BOBTV Brown. How you doing today? Well, I'm still on this riding this Joe Biden thing because Joe Biden currently is the front runner. They say Elizabeth Warren is this second front runner in the Democratic Party, but I doubt that. And they're trying to make it seem like they're doing whatever they can to just count Bernie out, man. They try, to me, I'd like to tell it like it is. To me, when they're doing this hard to kind of capture who's the real leader. First it was Kamala Harris leading. Then it was Buttigieg. You know, you had all these people that's supposed to be taking the lead. Then Joe Biden getting the race. He led for a while. Now he's starting to fall off. Now all of a sudden Elizabeth Warren rising. So the bottom line is, well, if it all goes to ship, Elizabeth Warren will be our girl because we sure ain't voting Bernie Sanders, because I really believe, and this is them talking, I believe Bernie Sanders is really going to wreck the system, man. At least Elizabeth Warren is for Wall Street and for corporatism and capitalism. She may not be 100% in, but she's in. That doggone Bernie Sanders, he's all out. We got to be anybody at this moment in this primary. We got to be anybody but Bernie Sanders. And then once we get Bernie Sanders out of the way, then we'll be anybody but Trump. It ain't going to work. But I'm not getting on that because I'm still going. I deal with Elizabeth Warren soon. See me rubbing my hands, that's coming. Because she may be electable, but she ain't all that electable. Okay? I'm going to break down some points that when you stack her against Trump, Trump is going to wipe the floor with her. And whether you like it or not, it's just a fact. But let me get to Joe Biden. Joe Biden talked about, with a proud face, as usual, arrogant and cocky, how he works with segregationists. Let's take a look at this.
Under fire from rivals in the Democratic presidential race after he reminisced about working together with segregationist senators back in the 1970s. Now this fight has suddenly brought race into the center of this campaign. Ed O'Keefe is on Capitol Hill with more on this story. Boy.
All right, first of all, Gail, race been in the campaign from day one. What race are you looking in? All right, you got to get your face out of Oprah's butt, woman, because you're not tuning in, okay?
Ed, good morning to you. This is happening at a very critical time, it seems.
It sure is, Gail. These racially charged incidents coming just as the presidential campaign heads to South Carolina in the coming days, the early primary state with the largest block of black voters.
Apologize for what?
Former Vice President Biden Wednesday night stood by comments he made this week about his work with two segregationist senators, Herman Talmadge and James Eastland. On Tuesday at a fundraiser, he discussed
two bona fide white supremacists, I mean extreme white supremacists, can't stand a black person, can't stand a Jew, can't stand anybody but pure white blood.
Working with them despite disagreements on civil rights, saying, at least there was some civility. We got things done.
The point I'm making is you don't have to agree. You don't have to like the people in terms of their views, but you just simply make the case and you beat them.
New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, another 2020 challenger, called for an apology.
Cory should apologize. He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career.
I don't understand why he needs this lesson.
Other 2020 candidates also called out Biden.
I think it's misinformed and it's wrong.
We all have to work with people with whom we have very different points of view. But I think to be singing the praises of people who were vicious segregationists is not something that anybody.
But he was talking about working with them. Is that the same thing as singing their praises?
I'm not so sure about that.
Earlier, Senator Booker testified at a House hearing on slavery reparations held on the Juneteenth holiday commemorating the end of slavery.
I am brokenhearted and angry right now. Decades of living in a community where you see how deeply unfair this nation is still to so many people.
It's important to note that Biden is finding some important support. South Carolina Congressman James Clyburn and other senior members of the Congressional Black Caucus say that his comments.
Oh, you mean Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks? That coon? You mention reparation and a check, he loses his mind.
Were taken out of context. Also important to know that our CBS News Battleground Tracker poll out this week finds Biden has big advantages with black voters over his Democratic rivals.
All right, guys, when you ever hear something about a poll, you got to look at the poll. Mo? Who the heck is Mo? See, I believe some of these polls are made up. They got it from a Mo Hill or YouGov poll. I don't know. You don't believe these polls. So when you listen to a poll, you got to find out who they're actually talking to and how many how many people they talk to.
It is almost showtime. 6 days until candidates take the debate stage, but the gloves are already coming off. The main target, frontrunner Joe Biden, the former vice president, under fire after citing the work he did with segregationist senators as an example of the civility that used to exist in Congress. Speaking at a fundraiser in New York City Tuesday night, Biden told the crowd this: "I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland. He never called me boy. He always called me son. Herman Talmadge, one of the meanest guys I ever knew. Well, guess what? At least there was some civility. We got things done. We didn't agree on much of anything, but we got things done." But today, you look at the other side and you're the enemy, not the opposition, the enemy. We don't talk to each other anymore. Many 2020 contenders, including Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, quickly responded to Biden's comments, suggesting that he was celebrating segregationists. Senator Cory Booker went one step further, asking Joe Biden to apologize. But it does not seem like an apology is coming anytime soon. Last night, while speaking to reporters before a campaign event in Maryland, Biden doubled down on his comments.
How does it feel that your Democratic rivals are implicitly saying that you have issues talking about race?
They know better.
Are you going to apologize like Cory Booker has called for?
For what?
Cory Booker's called for it.
Cory should apologize. He knows better.
All right, guys, I got to stop right here. This arrogant, cocky son of a... You go around touting your relationship with racists. And people look at your history of how you lean toward the favor of racist policies, if it was not downright racist policies. And then here's Senator Cory Booker call you out, and you got the nerve to say he need to apologize to you for what? You being a racist? You kissing the behind of segregationists? You being proud of the fact that they didn't call you boy, but he would have called any other black man a boy? Of course he ain't gonna call you a boy. You're white. Yeah, you gonna say he need to apologize to you for you and your racist past. But let's continue to hear what he got to say, because we heard this before.
There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career.
What civil rights legislation have you passed? Anytime you put your finger on the pulse of so-called civil rights progression, you voted on the end of degression. You were voting on the side of separatists. You were voting on the side of white supremacists. You were kissing up and trying to shake hands to white supremacists. You said it yourself. We disagree, but we have to come after their throats. No, if you're a white racist, I come after your throat, man, because you're coming after my throat. If you look at me as less than human, if you look at me like you're better than me, why would I not be upset? Why would I not want to work around with you? See, the bottom line, Joe, you were able to work with them because you're white. But any black person, it was hard for him to work with a true dog racist. Now, thanks to John F. Kennedy, if it wasn't for John F. Kennedy doing whatever he needed to do at the beginning of civil rights legislation and building that relationship between Martin Luther King, LBJ, in the middle of it, LBJ wouldn't have been obligated. He wouldn't have gave King time of the day if it wasn't for John F. Kennedy already establishing that platform. You, on the other hand, you're standing tall talking about how much you had these relationships with these segregationists. And because wasn't black and he didn't call me a boy, and I had these relationships with some of the meanest sons of gun on the face of the planet, probably make you shaking your boots. We got stuff done. We didn't get stuff done until black people continue to press on. And then for you to tell Cory Booker that he need to apologize to him.
Period.
That answer did not satisfy Senator Cory Booker.
What matters to me is that a guy running to be the head of our party, which is a significantly diverse and wondrous party, doesn't understand or can't even acknowledge that he made a mistake. Whether the intention was there or not, he knows better. And at a time when Donald Trump never apologizes for anything and starts to create that kind of, I think, toxic sentiment that you never apologize. I know Joe Biden. He's better than this.
Politics here on MSNBC. Jason, I turn to you first. Joe Biden was not applauding or complimenting the segregationists. The point he was trying to make was, these are the...
How do you know he was not applauding and lifting up and being happy and whatever? How do you know? Are you his advisor, ma'am? Did you talk to Joe? Are you a person that know how to read people? How do you know? These people trying to cover up for Joe Biden. How do you know what he was doing?
Deplorables of the deplorables. But for the country, because that's what we're here to do, I found a way to even work with them.
Right. So here's the problem. It's not about what you mean. It's about what people hear. Trent Lott learned this lesson 14 years ago. I don't think Trent Lott was praising segregationists. He was praising another senator, and he was saying what a great guy he was in an interpersonal way, and George Bush kicked him out of office. Joe Biden needs to realize the political environment that he is in. He needs to be more responsible. And here's the other thing. This inability to say, I'm sorry, this inability to say, all right, look, guys, this is what I actually meant one way or another, that is a problem. And a core of this, when he's saying civility, when he's saying I can work with these people, an underlying message of Joe Biden's campaign has always been, I'm a white guy and I'm going to be able to work with these people. And that's not going to work with Mitch McConnell.
You know, it's very interesting when you have a black guy and a white guy talking. And
it happens.
We are hearing, the reality is this, I'm hearing it as a white guy, you're hearing it as a black guy. So I hear that, and I have to show a sensitivity the same way if something is being talked about in the Holocaust, I'm a Jew, somebody else not going to hear it. What I heard, though, was basically the way Steph set it up. It was there was no celebration. He called them mean. It was a strictly, look, those are bad guys. I got to work with bad guys to make good things happen. Right. That's what this white guy's ears heard. So once again, I can't say to you, no, you can't be offended by it or you can't think it's wrong. I did not see a scenario there as I was listening to it. I was like, it'd be the equivalent today. Let's say there's a wall hawk and ice. Let's quadruple down on ice. And to me, that is today's definition of segregation. Would I not sit down with him? No, I would try and beat him or her to a game and fix the problem.
Here's the thing. As a black guy who lives in this country...
Isn't it great we could say white guy, black guy?
as a black guy who lives in this country, I hear what white people hear too because I have to.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree with you. I'm talking about it from a strategic standpoint. Okay. I know what Joe Biden meant, but he's got to recognize he's got 20 people who are gunning for him. And he keeps giving them ammunition to shoot him down whenever he says something like this.
Between where politicians, I think the average American, black, white, green, purple, can hear that and understand what he was saying.
The average American is not paying any attention. The average American hears that Joe Biden made another gaffe about race and refused to say he's sorry. That's how this is trickling down 6 days before a debate where he's going to be on stage with Senator Harris. He's going to have to explain this.
Let me flip it one more time. If that wasn't being lensed through Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker, politicians with an agenda to try and go after him, would people have seen that as a gaffe? I don't think so. I guess that's my point.
Steve Ratner was in the room and said this is being taken out of context. Is the bigger issue, Michael Steele, among Democrats that Joe Biden is saying, I'm going to reach across the aisle because...
Hey, first of all, it doesn't matter whether it's taken out of context. He talked about how he worked with segregationists, how he worked with them to get stuff done. But if you look at his voting record, it wasn't things to get done for the positive on black end. It was working for things to get done for the segregationists. Joe Biden pretty much leaned towards the segregationists. His policies are pro-segregationist policies. He may not be the upfront racist holding a noose with a Klan hat on, but you got to remember the Klan changed their method of reaching out to people a long time ago. They wear suits. They're your judges, they're your police officers, they're your politicians, they're your pastors. You never know. And they talk a good game. And they say things like Joe Biden say, but when it comes to voting, that is all that matters. That is all that matters. Your record of voting racist legislation is what matters. It doesn't matter what you say, Joe. We may have taken you out of context, but it does matter what you do.
Because the way you get things done is you've got to work with the other half of the room. And there's an enormous part of the Democratic.
All right, ma'am, that's the old way to get things done. The way you get things done is you work to get people in office that thinks like you. Because to convince a person above the will is of the same opinion still, you can talk to them to the blue in the face and they'll still tell you no. You got to use political muscles to pressure them to say yes. And the only way you can do that, and pretty much the best way to do that, is to primary that person and say, if you don't vote for this one, which Barack Obama should have done when he was president, he could have got a lot more done, went to those same racist Republicans, he could have got it in their face and said, look, I know you don't like me, but this got to be voted on. And if you don't vote on this, I am going to personally go to your state and find a person that will work with me on this, and I'm going to campaign to get you out of office if you're not willing to do this. You don't appease to the segregationists. You don't kiss their behinds. You don't do none of that like Joe Biden did. You put political pressure on them. That's why, even though I don't agree with Bernie Sanders on some issues I do, his campaign strategy is to develop an organization like Our Revolution, and there's other organizations to back him up, is either you're going to do things the way we tell you to do, or we're going to primary you out of office. So that old way of convincing the person above the will ain't going to change their opinion. They still gonna be the same old hawks. They gonna still be the same old segregationist racists, whether they voted on the legislation or not, because once they're out of your face, they still go back to doing those things. So the old way of doing these things are dead, ma'am. Nobody's trying to go around trying to convince somebody to work across the aisle, because they're not trying to do that anymore. The center has turned either right or extreme left. And that's what we're dealing with now. The middle ground is almost gone. And the only way to win is by telling people, either you're going to support this bill or we're going to primary you out.
Democratic Party who's saying, no, this is the time of the resistance. We ain't getting played by Mitch McConnell again.
Well, I think the problem is not that it makes him seem like a segregationist or that it's seen through a prism of race. The problem is it makes him seem old. I'm all for working together. I'm all for reaching across the aisle. But bragging about working with the Dixiecrats is like bragging about working with the Whigs. I expected him to end that avail by telling the reporters to get off his lawn. This makes him seem like a man out of time in a party that is trending more and more towards youth and energy and a more inclusive, multicultural society.
What is out of time with saying I need to work with the other side to fix a problem? Why is that out of step? Do we have to live in the Donald Trump world?
That's exactly right, Donald Dork. We're in a different time now where negotiation and coming together doesn't work. Mitch McConnell is not trying to work with Democrats. He's trying to shame them. Mark Rubio, the same thing. They're trying to shame him. Likewise to the Democrats. The Democrats probably have been working with Republicans because they fear that Donald Trump base is so big that he may do what I just talked about. Either you're going to support my efforts, or I'm going to come to your state and I'm going to find somebody to primary you out of office who will support my effort. I got time. So Donnie Dork, you got to understand these are different times. And you got to push a strong agenda. And it doesn't require compromise. It requires putting in people that's going to support your agenda.
he is setting up that says we have to stay divided. And so to me, and I come in as a business guy, and Steph, you come from that world also. And
you got to play ball.
Thousands of hours I've spent in my life with people I disagree with, in those cases, segregationists, reprehensible, because I'm trying to fix a problem, get something done.
Here's the issue that I have with this, though. Joe Biden hasn't been able to convince most voters, including some activists, that he can work with Mitch McConnell and Republicans who don't want to work with him. That's why people find it frustrating. He seems to say, we can do this chummy thing that we did 35 years ago, and that may not work anymore. I don't think it's about the liberals being like, we can't stand to work with anybody. It's like, dude, you can't convince us that Mitch McConnell's going to give you a Supreme Court justice either.
But one of the issues is you've got a portion of the Democratic parties that are saying it's time for a revolution.
Right.
Let's break the system. Let's start over.
Right.
And while there is a big portion of the country suffering, there's a bigger portion of the country that's saying, listen, things aren't great for me, but I don't want to scrap things. And if the Democratic Party goes very far left, they miss the opportunity to get those voters in the middle who say, hold on, I don't want to start over.
I can't think of any of the top 5 Democrats who are actually real liberals. I mean, like, Pete Buttigieg is about as central as you can get. Senator Harris is about as centrist as you can get. The only far liberal that you've got running is Bernie Sanders, and he's cratering. So
Elizabeth Warren also, I would put very
and even Warren, I don't think she's as far left as Bernie Sanders. So the fear of this overtake by a bunch of AOC clones, I just don't think that's happening. And I don't think Joe Biden is smart to say that I'm the resistance against that.
But all right, let me let you know something, brother. It started in 2016. It's 3 years later. You got more super left people in the Democratic Party than you ever had before in just a few years. The Bernie Sanders Democratic Socialist movement is real. Or what I call FDR Democrats are real. The centric Democrats are dying out. Not that many new people running in the Democratic Party are leaning centric. Most of them are FDR style Democrats that is running for office to break the system, or running for office to take over the House and Senate and trying to push somebody in there just like them. The FDR style of Democrats are trying to take over the Democratic Party, trying to take over the House, the Senate, and the presidential seats, and they're trying to change the system. And I gotta admit to it, even though I don't support it, it's getting done. It's getting done. While people were complaining, what next, what we're gonna do next, and they, include myself, they ran their mouth on it, and it didn't do anything. I ran down the Justice Democrat. I ran down all these people because I believe we don't need to be trying to do anything. And I still believe we need a third party, and I'm still pushing for a third party, and I'm trying to break the system. But the Democratic Party has leaned super left, bruh. And AOC clones and Bernie Sanders clones are being elected. So you stay tuned, my brother. You stay tuned. Now, I know you want everything to be moderate. You believe everybody should be like Joe Biden. No. We don't need. This is not time to compromise. This ain't time to take sides. This is the time to take over. If somebody don't take over the Democratic Party, if somebody don't take over, so you got to understand, progressive policies have no party links to it. That's why I hate when people say the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. It should be a progressive wing of the Republican Party and any other party. Progressives are not a party. It's a way of life. It is actually FDR style voters. Those are progressives. And they're growing. Some of them in the Republican Party, they just haven't gotten the revelation that they are. A lot of them are independent. Some of them know that they are. Some of them still don't know that they are FDR voters. And there's a lot of them in the Democratic Party. So, yes, they are duplicating. They're duplicating.
We're talking about the real world and real policy. And I turn to you, Michael Steele. You have millions of people every night who tune into Fox News. And while the majority of candidates might...
That's Michael Steele? I thought Michael Steele was a black dude.
...be somewhat centrist and don't have far left opinions, Fox News would tell you they do. Fox News would tell you, and the president, that every Democrat running is a left-wing loon who wants to take away all of your rights as a citizen and give them to someone from another country. So while Jason might be right in fact, people hear what they want to hear.
Sure, and I think arguing that Elizabeth Warren isn't on the left is not going to be a winning argument for these centrist voters. Look, Donald Trump has a very hard ceiling in his support. He gets about 45% tops. The only way he wins this election is to convince the American people that the Democratic candidate is unacceptable, too far to the left, a radical socialist.
No, the only way Donald Trump wins this election is when the Democratic Party cheats the person who has the ability to win independents, which Joe Biden don't have, the person that have the ability to win majority of the, at least half or a quarter of the Democratic Party, and the person who has the ability to reach Republicans. Think about who has that reach. If you screw that person, you're going to get Donald Trump.
And that's what he's going to do every day from now until Election Day. And I want people to work across the aisle. I think we need to get back to that. We need to get back to bipartisanship. We need to get back to working together to get things done. I just don't think citing examples of working with Dixiecrats in the 1970s is the kind of argument that is going to convince people you're the right candidate to do that.
And also, I don't think right now we're able to do that because you got extreme Republican party and you got extreme Democratic party that will stab their own just to try to keep the system the way that it is. But these people on the panel, they don't have a clue what's going on out here. They're so in their bubble that they don't know what's going on out here. Black people can't stand Joe Biden. Only people that can stand Joe Biden is those who haven't really looked at his record. I guarantee you, I dare you, anybody that's out here black, go look at his record and tell me you're still going to vote for Joe Biden. It's going to be some that will challenge and say, yeah, I will, and I'll just shake my head. Because you don't understand what you've done in the past determines what you do in the future. If you haven't really had some moral change, and in Joe Biden, you don't see any moral change the way he shows his hubris, the way he displays his arrogance, the way he push out his cockiness. He see himself as Obama, the white version of Obama, who's not going to do nothing for you, just like Obama. So once again, not only we're dealing with the crime bill, not only are we had to deal with his push for the drug war in minority areas in the inner city, how they dumped the drugs, which he knew about in the inner city, and how it was designed to cripple the black community so they can move those crippled people out of the black community and regenerate those communities and make them available to the upper class and the white elites. Not only did he talk about the crime bill and the welfare reform, which was a 1-2 punch to put people in jail like left and right, all a plan to take over prime land that was given out, that has been distributed to a lot of minorities. Then we talk about the busing situation. And now we talk about him saying how I was able to work with these segregationists. The reason it's not the fact that you were able to work with segregationists, Joe. It's not the fact that Joe has the ability to work between both lines. It's not that, because today, Joe, Obama couldn't work between both lines. So what makes you think you can work between both lines? Okay? And Obama had some good platforms that he couldn't get through because of the opposition of the Republican Party, the extreme segregationists like Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, and Mr. Weedhead boy now, who's pushing weed, he's a weed lob, John Boehner, Eric Cantor, all those arrogant, snobbish supremacists who think they're better than any Democrat and think about any people up here that may be liberal, that may lean left. A lot of Republicans believe they're beyond those guys. They look at them as libtards. They look down on you. So how are you going to say, I'll be able to work with those guys and get something done? when we're gone beyond those times of trying to get people to work with us because they're too extreme. Well, if we get more people in the middle, no, bruh. The middle road is dying out. Right now, the middle road has done nothing in the past 20 years, the middle road. And that's when we see Republicans and Democrats shift power. That's when we, in both the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And nothing really concrete got done, especially for people of color. But here we are, we got some people on the left saying, look, we need to go after Wall Street because that's what's killing the entire community, especially black people. We need to go after the big banks. You didn't lock them up because you wanted to work with them when they should have been locked up. And then look at them now. This is all because you wanted to work with them. They should have been locked up and dealt with a lesson. We need to put back Glass-Steagall. There's a lot of things we need to go back to. And right now, I'm telling you, Joe Biden is not trying to go back to that stuff. He wants to keep the system just the way it is. Why? Because Republicans and Democrats like the way the system is right down the middle. Yet it's crushing middle-class people and lower-class people. It is crushing minorities. It's definitely crushing the black community. Because y'all want to keep things the same. Yet you got people who saying no tangibles, no vote. How you going to deal with that, Joe? Because they're serious. No tangibles, forget about our vote. If you're not talking about the first step of a reparation is a check, then forget us. We're out. We're not voting on you. And you can send all the people to Capitol Hill to talk all that stuff that really didn't even spawn this movement, and we're still saying you're not getting our vote. So no, this compromising thing doesn't get things done anymore. The best way to do is boot people out of office and put your threat out there that if you don't support my agenda, you're out of here. We're going to put somebody in that will. That is how it's going to get done. Donnie Dort and the rest of you fools on that panel. Hey, thank you for watching that episode of The Rob Report. Before you go now, I need you to do two things for me. First thing, I want you to like the video if you liked it. Second thing, I want you to share it all across social media. And if you have not subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Stop and do it. As Jimmy Dore says sometimes, you think you're subscribed, or you go check and find out you're not subscribed. So make sure you check that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when I put a new content out. I'm not a fan of Super Chat, so if you plan on giving to the efforts of Bob TV, make sure you do that through Bob TV NYC at paypal.me. Anybody who want to have free access to my Patreon channel, I'm trying to save you money on your cable bill. I ran into a program that I think everybody need, everybody can afford, and everybody should have, and that link is down there below. 5,000 plus channel, best sports package, and the best premium TV, and even international channels, and you can access this all over the world. Go ahead and check that out, get your free trial, and if you decide to support, become members of those two services, we'll go ahead and give you full access to the Patreon channel, and there's no cost to it. So my name is Robert Brown with The Rob Report. Thank you for watching. I'll holler at you later. Peace.